Hey, it's me, Rob Ryan. I'm back with another amazing episode of Entrepreneurial Thinkers. Today, I got to sit down with Gefen Skolnick, the founder and creative genius behind the Couplet Coffee brand, the Couplet Coffee company. If you love coffee, if you love specialty coffee, if you love coffee, if you love consumer products, if you're curious about how these things go from the lab to the grocery store that you see it at to where you buy it and then at home for your own enjoyment, like that journey, we talk about that today with Gefen. I am super grateful and proud to call Gefen a friend here in LA. I think she is the Billie Eilish of specialty coffee and specialty beverage world. But also if you're an investor, if you're a founder, if you're a corporate executive who's interested or works in or invests in or plays in the CPG, consumer packaged goods industry, which is the industry that puts all that stuff on the grocery shelves that we see when we go to the grocery store every week, you want to check out this episode. It's fascinating. It's insightful. It's full of positive energy. It's just inherently inclusive. The conversation that we have and the story and the grit and the determination and the creative confidence that Gef expresses in herself and in her company and her brand was just inspiring for all of us. It was for me today. I'm in a great mood now having had this conversation because our hope is to leave the world just a little bit better than we found it. And I hope that you enjoy this conversation as much as we did making it. Hola, hello, hi, bienvenido, and welcome back or welcome to Entrepreneurial Thinkers. This is the show in which I get to have weekly conversations with the most original and brightest entrepreneurial thinkers across a wide range of sectors and segments in our society as we come together conversationally to try to leave the world a little bit better than we found it. And today, I'm super excited. I couldn't be more grateful. This is a conversation like a year and a half in the making. I'm grateful to be joined by my good friend, Gefen Skolnick, who's the founder of Couplet Coffee Company from here in Los Angeles. And before we get into a deep, wide, fun conversation with Gef, I want to tell you a little bit more about it. So in my worldview, it's just my worldview, Gefen is the Billie Eilish of coffee in Los Angeles. Now, wait, hear me out. I know that's quite a comparison, right? But here's why I say that. She's super talented, young woman, a little shy sometimes maybe, born and raised here in LA, deeply proud of her city, wildly creative and authentic in how she carries herself. And just like Billie, you may or may not like her music or her coffee, but you cannot deny how authentic and talented she is. Gefen created the Couplet Coffee brand, which is a venture-backed business that's making waves in the coffee and specialty beverage industry nationwide. Although she's a trailblazer of both the coffee industry and the LGBTQ plus community now, her background actually began much more traditionally in technology, graduating from UCLA with a focus in computer sciences, and had an early career in product management at big brand companies that we all recognize, like Tesla and Hulu. She's built a unique cross-section of respect and relationships across both the startup, investor, and retail worlds, serving in advisory roles at several different investment firms, while also bringing a really unique blend of tech and entrepreneurial experience to every relationship. If you have ever seen a shiny, colorful bag of Couplet coffee on the shelves of your local Whole Foods or your Erewhon grocers, or pick whatever your cool local grocery brand is in your city, then you'll know from just seeing that brand that she's not just building a coffee brand or a coffee product for you to drink in the morning. She's really crafting a community culture rooted in inclusivity and boldness from day one. Gefen, it is awesome to have you on the show with me this morning.
Thank you so much. That was pretty damn accurate. So I appreciate it.
I love that. I love that. And also, I'm staking my claim. I don't know if anybody else in the world has ever made the Gefen Skolnick Couplet Coffee / Billie Eilish comparison, but I'm going all in on that one.
Hey, you're gonna own that one. Put a trademark on it because I've never heard it, but I love it. That sounds great.
No, it's awesome. It's fantastic to see you here. We're friends for a few years now. I'll tell the audience, like I'm always super proud of what Gefen has built and is building, how she goes about her business. Just everything about you has always intrigued me and attracted me in the best human sense. I was talking with Mickey Reynolds yesterday, who used to work at Grid 110 and now works at Slauson & Co. And she was telling a little bit of the Slauson story. And she said, the and co part is literally representative of and the company we keep.
Wow.
Right. And I thought as I was getting ready this morning for our conversation, like, that's just it, right? Like, you and I, we don't have to be the closest of friends. We don't have to see each other every week or every month. But if we see each other a couple times a year, or we support each other online as much as we can, like you're the company that I keep, and frankly, you keep me fresh and excited and optimistic about what's possible in the world. So thank you for that.
That is really lovely. And Mickey's amazing. She's an investor in Couplet. So we love her. Big support.
There we go.
Much love.
I did not even realize that. We're having a Couplet week event. This is great. I love it.
Yep.
All right. So let's dive in. First question. This is the big obvious one for me.
Cool.
Why coffee? Like, why not like a cool energy drink company, or why not some tequila brand, or why not some sugary prebiotic soda? Why did you build Couplet Coffee?
Well, originally I wasn't going to start a consumer goods brand. That was never something I thought about or wanted to do. It kind of just came to me, and it just, it was something that I had been really known to love since high school. Like on my birthday in high school, my friends would bring me like multiple tables of Starbucks cups, because that was sort of my thing back then.
All right.
It was just multiple tables. It was like, oh, like someone give me a candle and a balloon and like a little birthday cake from Ralph's, and then 2-3 tables of just coffee cups, which was hilarious. And
wow,
I gotta find those pictures somewhere. It would be iconic, but
that would be.
I was really into it. And then once I went to college, I was living in this like really small studio apartment in Santa Monica. It was super hot in there, and I didn't want to be in there all the time. And so I started going to coffee shops to work. I went to Santa Monica College, as you know. And so through Santa Monica College and transferring into UCLA, I would quite literally every single day hop around to different coffee shops, and ended up becoming friends with baristas at specialty coffee shops. And I was just curious at that point, kind of evading my annoying work. Like I did a little bit of linguistics, and I was like, oh man, this is grueling. I want to talk about anything else. And so we just chopped it up, and I was like, wow, I did not realize there's a real science and art to coffee, and like both of those things I like. So yeah. And then from then on, I started actually having these like little mini coffee shops at my house, but it was actually more cocktail focused. So I would make like Hennessy and coffee cocktails, like Hennessy coffee cream, cinnamon.
Like you're doing like little like social pop-ups.
Like, I've always done, honestly, seriously, like since I was pretty young. And now it's a thing to do coffee shops at your house, which I love. But yeah, I just introduced a lot of my friends to really good specialty coffee. And I thought there was just such a big opportunity, considering that a lot of my friends growing up through high school and college, especially community college, like a lot of the people that are demographics that go to these types of schools in places where I grew up are absolutely not targeted by the specialty coffee industry, and like made fun of me so long until they finally tried making a pour over. The pour over I made them, they're like, oh, damn, this is good stuff.
They're like, okay, there is something to this. Is like a skill. Okay.
It's like something they're used to, like diner coffee or Bustelo or whatever. Like, much respect to all those coffees too, but it's just a different world once you start tasting like a coffee that tastes like a tea, a coffee that has a floral taste to it. Like, you're just like, oh my God, I didn't know this existed. So
wow,
I just wanted to bring that.
What a fascinating journey. I mean, I love, first of all, like one of the things I heard in there was like, you were basically like the coffee shop coworker like 10 years before that was popular.
Really 10 years before, yeah. Really 10 years before, yeah.
Like you've been like a remote co-working social trendsetter for like way before the pandemic.
Yeah, no, it was, like a thing. I have ADHD, and I want to sit and be around people, and noise and activity somehow make me hone in on what I'm doing. But like, in the library, it was too quiet. So I was like, I need something around me. I don't know. Let's switch it up. So
that makes a ton of sense.
Led me to it.
Yep. The other thing I heard, which I absolutely love, and I've known this about you, but I don't know that I knew it. It was like a kind of a DNA level thing for you. Is you're obviously just a supernatural, curious person.
Yeah.
Right. Like, obviously,
extremely,
and that curiosity, much like I say, we'll stick to the genre. So I'll talk about like my little cafe here in the neighborhood, Tiago Coffee. I love those guys.
You're a big fan. I know,
like amazing people. Like, they're good
all over it. Yeah.
All right. I love the place. It's got a patio. It's right around the corner. Blah blah blah. But I'll sit there and I'll wind up, and I'll wind up in like relationships with the staff that work there.
Totally.
Mostly just because I'm polite and I'm kind to them, but also mostly just because like I'll ask them questions about the business and about like which breakfast do you use, right? And it's that curiosity. So that, but you took that to the next level. You're like, okay, wait, now I'm like intrigued, and this is feeding my instinctive talents. Like I love engineering. I'm a science person. I love the structure.
Yep. I always was really curious about a lot of different things. I kind of dove into a lot of topics, a lot of different areas, and of a lot
That's
of
a good thing.
Random industries, or dive in on like brands and how they went from 0 to 1, or like how did you do or create this thing from like a technical standpoint? How did you do or create or think about like where was the inspiration for things? And it was just really one of those things that I was a little more excited about than other things that I sort of researched over time. And
I love that.
And yeah.
I love that. I'll send you, when we're done, I'll send you a link to a book I'm listening to right now. It's called Range. And the whole thesis of it is that it's about generalists. It's about we explorers who look at like lots of different things and try to lots of different things. And it's the narrative description of the science behind how that actually is better. That's actually the better route towards like accomplishment of athletics or skills or business success, etc. So yeah, a great friend of mine who is also a generalist here in town just sent to me a couple weeks ago, and I've been listening on my walks, and I'm like, oh shit, like this is a lot of the people that I know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think even in terms of hiring, sometimes when there's like a lot of different skills that I've had to learn and be pretty much an expert at, to the point where I could start like a brokerage or an agency in like 7 different things that I've done. I'm like, oh my God, I understand the game now. I have the connections to do this. I get it now. Like a lot of those things I finally got, like I worked with
I love that.
Understood those work, All
right. So let's talk about one of those things that you fell in love with and that you tried to figure out from the bottom up. So let's talk about this consumer packaged goods. Now, the rest of the show I'm going to say, so everybody knows, that's CPG when we say CPG, right? So let's talk about the CPG industry, because to me as an outsider, just as a consumer, right, it's an industry that appears or seems like super innovative and creative, because as consumers we see so many brands. Like we see I go look for your Couplet Coffee product on the shelf at Erewhon, and I see like 150 different coffee. So to me that seems very innovative and all. But I think from what I've been learning from watching you move over the years, and then a few other people I know that are in the industries in different levels, like it's actually really like an old, arcane, like super institutionalized, kind of broken industry. And it really actually needs like reinvention and creativity. First of all, is that true? And secondly, like, how have you seen the industry since you've been inside of it? Like how do you change it? How frustrated are you by it, et cetera?
You know what? I feel like everything that I've wanted to do, I just figure out the game and I play it, like it's even when I was hunting for internships in college to be a software engineer, I was like, you know what? The system's literally against me. I need to figure out a different way to play it, but I understand the game. I'm just going to play it my way and see and just get creative. And it's the same thing with CPG. It's like, okay, I was not in coffee before. I was just like a prosumer, you know what I mean? And I was just into it, whatever. So it kind of gave me, I was able to be more creative about my approach, because I understood the game from an outsider perspective. Then once I started playing it, slowly but every quarter I'm learning a different way to play the game. So it's a lot of things are kind of set in stone, but there's innovators in this space where, and I'll give you an example. There's people that are creating different ways to partner on a distributor level. We work with this kind of like, I don't know if you could call them a startup. It's called Pod Foods. You might have heard of them. They're sort of...
I've heard of them because of you.
Yeah, probably. I've talked about them online.
Right. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
They've been a really awesome partner for us. They were our anchor distributor for Foxtrot, which was our first ever retailer. And it was one of those things that now we are in the bigger, more archaic distributors as well. So we work with UNFI, and so they distribute, all over everywhere, and they're huge, and you've probably seen their trucks somewhere. Huge, very expensive to play, very, very tough for emerging brands to play that game without an enormous amount of capital up front. And Pod Foods was like,
Okay.
hey, listen, let's make like a really tech forward, we're going to have like a cute, pretty dashboard with like nice UI, like easy to use stuff. Like we're going to have our own Pod Capital platform to like help you finance some of these purchase invoices,
Okay.
purchase orders, sorry. They've just sort of like made it more founder friendly in their own way to do things. And they're kind of a little more hands on. So they're playing the distribution game, which is archaic and crazy they're creating a new game for us to play as emerging brands. So there's a lot of innovation in different areas that are super archaic, but you play with both, like to really meaningfully scale a CPG brand. Eventually, everyone's going to work with a Unify or a KeHE. It's
you basically you have to. I mean, essentially, it's like if you get to the point that you want to get to of size and scale, like and just then you have to play with those types.
You have to play, and you know what? And they've also been good partners for us too. Like there's certain reps at Unify, as expensive as it may have been and tough for us at times. Payment terms and deductions and all these things. A lot of those reps are actually actively. I'll randomly get sample requests from like dream retailers, like that just happened, and I'm so excited about it. And it's one of those things that I would have had to pay a brokerage a lot of money to do it. So if you're friendly with people and you got a good product and it sells and people know, there you go. The word spreads. So
figuring out the game inside the games, right? That's always key.
Yeah, but
right. And then be you, right? And so, like you said, I mean, fundamentally, obviously, good product, but then build relationships, and it's all of a sudden it's one rep inside this, massive Fortune 500 company
that could change your company actually completely.
Right, exactly. It's because of relationships and respect and love and whatever. Like you make an impression on somebody, and they're like, "Oh, I want to go to bat for them. I love that product, or I love that founder."
100%. Yeah.
Interesting. So one of the things, this is really just a lot of my own curiosities today, honestly.
Totally.
So like another one is as a consumer, and right now, for example, right, there's a lot of political and governmental talk right now because of the Kroger Albertsons proposed merger, right? Which would leave us with maybe just 3 grocery companies in the entire world or something, right? And so a lot of that is this idea that we think we see lots of diversity on the shelves and lots of innovative new products and and the truth is maybe most of the products we see on shelves across a lot of different categories are owned by the same 5 or 6 different companies.
Totally. Yeah.
So I almost want to say answer my own question, I guess, in part, I get it. It's probably just hard no matter what, right? Totally. To get to any, it's hard. It's hard. It's just hard. Period. Yeah. Right. It's just hard. Right.
Yeah.
But the question I'm digging at is there another layer of hardness that comes with being you in particular? Because again, like we talked about in the opening, Couplet isn't just coffee or good coffee. Couplet is great coffee, but a great user experience and also intentionally inclusive and diverse, and you lead with that. I mean, literally the bag is a representation of you, right? And so does you being you, the way that you're building your brand, does that make cracking through an already really difficult process into a difficult industry, does it make it even harder, or is it just hard, it doesn't matter?
That's a good question. I think I've always had difficulty because of my identity in every industry I've been in, right? No one's really used to seeing a masked lesbian with tattoos at the helm of a company. Doesn't matter what company it is. Right. Being at a Society of Women Engineers conference, I don't look like I'm supposed to be there. Anything I've ever done, I've never looked like I'm supposed to be there. And I just think that if I just lead with kindness, execute on things well, people will respect you eventually, even if they're a little homophobic or cautious or whatever. Right. Those are always people that are going to be in the way. It is what it is. But I just think regardless, it's just hard. I have my own privileges. I have a lot of privileges, especially because I'm white, first and foremost, and I'm from LA. That's just
exactly. Yeah, 100%. Right. When she's graduated from UCLA, there's a lot of advantages.
I came from not many advantages and was let me just create some leverage for myself. And because of that, even raising money at the beginning, it just wasn't that hard because I got the attention of people and had a good pitch and a good story, and a lot of people came in. And I'm about to go raise again, and I know it's going to be significantly harder this time, but I'm confident in my ability to do it and where the company's at and whatever. But I think I do, even in venture capital, it's all the same thing. I'm conscious of the fact that I'm different, but it's for some reason I've still been able to do whatever I'm doing. And I do recognize a lot of that is due to huge privileges and,
Sure.
and other people.
Also, and you've said it, but I'll say it more loudly because you're humble. Like also just being good at what you do.
Yeah.
You for all the.
I'm getting better. I don't know if I'm good. I'm getting better.
No, and that's what a person who's who is pretty good would say, right? Like, yeah. I mean, I can say it as the outsider. Like, you're good at what you do, and when I say what you do, is in how you try to lead, how you try to learn. Like you are. We've known each other maybe 3-ish years or so, and like from the beginning to now, as would naturally occur in most people your age, like, but you're more self-aware now than you were then.
Of course.
Right? You're more mature and have a more refined sense of yourself and sense of the world than you did then. Again, which is the good news. Like you want to see that more growth from but then you apply that in your business. And so I can't say I don't know that, and you and I've had hikes and walks together where I don't know that I would have heard that I'm confident in what I can do. I know I've got a good story. Like, I don't know that I would have heard that as definitively a couple of years ago as I hear you just said that.
Yeah.
Going into this next raise. So good for you.
Yeah. I really had to, get enough under my belt in terms of knowledge, throwing things at a wall and like get from 0 to 1 to like really understand like what is 1 to exit? What's 1 to 2? Now I'm like, okay, I have a vision here. I get it. I've also done a lot of research, networking, hosting things, talking about things, getting advisors, investors that are, that have done this before and done a lot of things before. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I was a little delulu and I had to be. Otherwise, if I knew what I knew now, it would be way more intimidating to like start a business, especially in coffee, as a consumer goods founder, all of the different things that I'm doing. Like
you might not have done it. Like, because if you would have known all this.
You know what? I might have not done it, but I think I'm still always delusional enough to like do things that seem really hard. That's why I like being a founder a lot. I love being a founder because I'm challenged every single day and I learn things every day and I get to pivot and think about things a lot in different ways. But no, yeah, I do think there is a superpower in a lot of founders that I know and have met. And I think that we have to instill confidence in each other, even when things are hard. So
yeah.
I
love that.
Is a helicopter.
Don't worry about that. That's all good. It's the home studio here is like between Hollywood Boulevard and Franklin Avenue. So trust me.
A lot going on.
There's always something going on. All right. I'm going to kind of squeeze 2 questions together. One, because you talked about it, you're going to be raising more capital. We don't have to talk about that in detail. That's fair. But you have raised capital, so we already know that, right? And then I want to kind of tie this into LA as a segue, right? So I've heard, I may have heard it from you over the years, or I know I've heard it from lots of people, right? There don't seem to be a ton of, I'm sure there are like CPG investors who that's their thing, right?
Yeah.
And then there are lots of other investors who seem to want to like spend time talking to you and CPG founders and are intrigued by it. But then at the end of the day, those are not really good investors, and they make the whole process harder because they don't really understand the metrics or the economics of the industry, which is again very different than most other industries. Like, is that true? And then in LA, it seems like from an outsider's point of view, it seems like we have a bit of a CPG entrepreneurial economy here. Like we have a bit of a it's a sector in our landscape of different things that we do. So does that help you find, are there good CPG investors here in LA, or is LA like, oh, it's hard to build a CPG company in LA, I've got to go to New York or I've got to be somewhere else?
No, I think LA is the right place to be.
Okay.
Definitively. Honestly, I think LA is the right place to be.
And it would be, aside from your Geffen, your Billie Eilish, like you love LA, like it's the right place to be for the industry.
It's the right place to be if you're going to launch an innovative consumer goods brand. Again, there's a lot of brands also like, I know a lot of brands based in Chicago because they have a really strong like manufacturing, sort of city there. And there's certain things that give them advantages like that. But in terms of building like the consumer brand, in terms of testing, in terms of marketing, in terms of getting it in the hands of celebrities and influencers, like you should probably be here for that. Again,
yeah.
I think everyone has their own journey. I wouldn't say like everyone should do it or they're dumb. Like there's
of course,
smart reasons to build a brand in New York too.
Sure.
Completely different reasons, but I think LA, for me, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially because it's a really strong coffee town. So we get to do a lot of town and relationship building and working with brick and mortars, bars, restaurants, coffee shops. it's the right place for us for sure.
That's really cool. I did not know that. So are there some high quality, like really good people that are CPG investors here in LA?
Yeah, like there are, for me, I haven't raised in a while. And a lot of the checks I've gotten in the last like year and a half have just been inbound. Like I haven't really raised in a minute. So
by the way, you want to hear something really funny? Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you. That helicopter just passed over my house.
Probably. Oh,
No, I'm 100% sure that was a straight line from Silver Lake to Hollywood. Like that was
probably was. I believe you.
100%. That I had to say it. I'm sorry, I had to say it. So you were saying so the checks you've taken have been like individuals, like high profile but are there some CPG firms?
Totally. Yeah. No, there's cool. CPG firms in LA, and I do think that fundraising these days is different. I think every year so far it's been very different. Like if I were a CPG founder that's just starting, I wouldn't like count on a venture capital check. I would pretty much say it's extremely hard. Like you've got to bootstrap it or do something, some testing, get some like real traction on your own. Like, however that looks, it's obviously a really capital intensive industry. So like, it's actually really, I know a lot of founder friends that like blew their first like $2 to $5 million. And like, it was all mostly like really, really good learnings for them. And now they know what they need to do. And then now they need a fresh, like, round of cash to like go do the damn thing. Right. But it's so easy to do that in consumer goods because, the production runs are kind of wild. And even like getting a couple first production runs into say like a Whole Foods, Sprouts, Erewhon, whatever, super expensive. And so like if you didn't position it right, or you messed up on the packaging, or you didn't do enough demos, or you didn't do the right like price reductions, promos, and you didn't know the combination that made sense for your brand, or you didn't do enough research on what's on the shelf, you can waste a lot of money and time doing that. I guess if I were to talk to someone who's like 0 to 1 right now or thinking about it, like start in LA. You could pitch people. If I would really utilize your network the best you can. There's like there's family offices everywhere. Also in LA, there's family offices and there's big check angels. There's recently exited founders. There's so many people you can talk to. And I think that I would count that as LA. I would count that as like the LA investor ecosystem personally. But
that's awesome. Oh, it's awesome to know.
It's limited on the VC firm front. It's super limited and really, really tough. So that's something to keep in mind.
No, definitely. It's fascinating. Okay. So we've talked about it in different pieces and parts. Give us the Couplet Coffee commercial. Like, what should we know about it? Where can we find it? What cool things that are coming up that you can tell us, not the secret ones that you can't tell us. I know because you published it all over. I mean, all your fans know, right? It's in Erewhon, which is really cool. I was with my daughter and actually my nieces, and they were like so stoked to see it. They were like, the person that I was like, that's my buddy, that's my friend. I was like, they thought that was the coolest thing ever, right? That's awesome. So we know it's growing. We know you're fighting the good fight. So tell us about it, and then tell us where it's at and where we can find it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, in a nutshell, Couplet is the next generation's coffee brand. Like, we're just aiming to make, that aha moment of trying good coffee available to everyone. We just want to bring great coffee to the masses. And we've done that in a couple different ways. We work both with grocery chains. We've launched in a ton recently. So Erewhon, Mother's Market, Harmon's Grocer. We are relaunching in Foxtrot. That I've not seen anywhere.
That was the episode. So let's tell that's a little side story. So it was a Chicago chain. I read when I watched you express what was happening. This company collapsed, closed down, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was like, obviously I haven't lived in Chicago for years but I grew up there.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, let me trace the history of this. And like, they were like tied to like Dominic's or something, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, fascinating. Yeah. But so Foxtrot is like, it's back or something.
It's back. It's open. Okay. We've already opened one store again. So we're one of the very few that they've like relaunched with, which is an honor. It's awesome. New team and everything. So back in Chicago, we actually got a bunch of new accounts and distribution in Chicago. And that's just kind of brick by brick. We're in a place called Standard Market out there, Soul Good Coffee. So we're making our waves in Chicago as well. And then in LA, if you want to try it in a coffee shop, you can go to Rocket Chip Coffee. If you want to try it at a lesbian bar, you can go to the Ruby Fruit. If you want to get it at a market in Venice, you can go to Canal Market. There's just like people that have it. And then, we also have like we do a really awesome sort of like durable goods line. It's like We do heart French presses. The lover's French press is what we call it. We have a cow print mocha pot. We call it the mocha pot. So we're kind of really trying to give people the tools in a fun and cute way and affordable way to sort of make coffee at home. So yeah, the mission.
I love that.
We're growing quite a lot.
I was thinking of you twice in the last week. I mean, not just because this episode was coming up, but on my walk the other night, I discovered and I think they're owned by like a conglomerate of ones that own like 3 or 4 different brands, but they opened on Franklin and Western on the edge of Los Feliz, Lazy Acres. And I walked into Lazy Acres and I was basically like, okay, this is like some version of Whole Foods / Trader Joe's / whatever. Right. And I was like, this couplet should be in here. And then the other one to your comment that you just made about the Ruby bar is in my love for women's sports and Angel City, all that stuff. I got connected to these women, not personally connected, but like online connected to these women that opened this sports bar in Long Beach that it only watches women's sports.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
that couplet. Tell them.
Yeah. So right. So I was like, okay, right. And someday my dream is we'll crack the Angel City nut. We'll get that.
I hope. Listen, one day.
Someday. So we're not giving up on that one. Someday. It's such a natural fit. Okay. All right. So I have a couple questions, and I'm going to flip the order of them just because I think you're pragmatic. You're like me in a lot of ways. You're pragmatic, but you're optimist. Right. So you're aware, as I always say, that means you're aware of the conditions on the ground around you. You have that sciencey engineering part of your DNA, but yet you're an explorer, you're a creator, you're curious, right? You're trying to build. So let me take the opposite end of that coin then, so to speak, is what scares you most about building Couplet? Not either right now or in general, like inside your vision.
Yeah, I guess, what scares me, I'm really confident in us being a really awesome big brand that people really connect with. I'm scared of once this happens to everyone and so many people and whatever. I've seen it a lot, but I'm scared that once we're scaled out and I'm not sort of like physically there, like we have a coffee shop in Chicago, a coffee shop in New York, and that when me or my team aren't physically there, it's not like embodying the Couplet spirit. Like at scale, I want to still embody the Couplet spirit and feel like the brand that we are. Like I don't want it to feel like a soulless coffee brand that's like run by corporate overlords and like isn't speaking to people anymore. And that is actually my biggest fear, but it's it happens.
But that's a big one. I mean, but it's a big one, but it's also very natural. Yeah. Outside of the founder entrepreneurial community, I don't know that necessarily everybody would understand that fear, right? But that fear is rooted in your optimism. Yeah. Right. No, but it's rooted in your optimism.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's rooted in your underlying belief, that you can achieve growth at scale to such a degree that one of the things concerns you is, oh shit, how will we still be us once we're growing at scale?
Yeah, I don't want to lose our soul. I think that's the biggest fear. So
the irony of this, I'm going to make an analogy here that's going to be really funny and probably piss off some of your coffee friends. But like the irony of that is, I think that's also how Howard Schultz felt either the first or second time that he left Starbucks, because although Starbucks would be that corporate monolithic behemoth with no soul, like the truth is at some point it wasn't. And although he didn't create it, obviously he came in as the executive for the guys that did create it in Seattle. But like in those earliest days and in those earliest years of that story, you might have heard him say something similar. Like, I have ultimate confidence we're going to be able to scale. But my worry is that like, will each store and will each barista still represent our ethos? And obviously that has not happened over time.
No, of course not. They're, a scale that I can only imagine, but it is scary and it sucks, but certain things happen the way that they have to, and you do what you can.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think at your level, it might even just be, I think about this in the context of any early stage company. I've felt these moments a couple of different times in my career, right? Like when it's at a point of growth where you're like, okay, now I got to bring in like the first salesperson.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm worried that person won't represent the ethos of Couplet the same way that I do.
Totally. 100%. And all of the people who do sales for Couplet right now are really good at embodying it. So I've just
Yeah.
been lucky because, to be attracted to want to work at Couplet, it's kind of a natural fit, like ultimately, because the vibe is extremely clear on the website, in the packaging, on the vibe in my videos, Couplet's
Yeah.
videos. I feel like it has actually been really interesting to attract the right talent that makes sense. And they're always really
That's
passionate
awesome.
about the brand, and former
Yeah.
employees too. Like we still, we talk about all these different things about, oh my God, I can't believe we finally did this, or like that happened, like so exciting. Like it's just like it's all community based. Like people just love to rock with Couplet. Even
No, 100%. It's obvious. I mean, I've been to a couple of I wouldn't even call them pop-ups anymore. Like your pop-ups now
events.
are like 200 people in the backyard of somebody's house. Like
Yeah.
you take over neighborhoods from what you used to do in your dorm room, right? But that's no, it is. It's community, and that's culture, right? And culture obviously is. I was going to ask about. Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask a question about the kind of differentiation, but you've already really answered it. You've talked about it, right? I mean, the root is the culture, and then how do you put the culture into everything? How do you put the culture onto the label? How do you put the culture into the product? How do you put the culture into how the staff shows up at a coffee cart pop up in Santa Monica or wherever it might be at an event?
It matters.
Yeah, and sometimes or a lot of times it's you, but not always. And then how do those?
It's not anymore. That's thing.
Awesome.
A lot of times it's not me. Sometimes I'm not there at all. So
yeah.
I'm still confident in the fact that I just, especially in terms of baristas, that we work with a lot of baristas at Couplet. I mean, and I'm buddies with all of them, and we try to help them out wherever we can, place them at different coffee shops we work with and stuff. And like it's less about experience, more about friendliness.
Yeah, no, you're building a tribe.
So
no, you have built and you are building a tribe of people, and they have a common thing that they share that they're passionate about, and then skills that are the skills required to do it. It's awesome. It's great to see. All right, so you're going to be wildly successful. We know that. Last kind of big question before we get into the couple of more like specific tactical advice questions. So we're just going to assume success, right? So I'm now going way out into the future. Like you're going to outlive me by a whole stretch. So I want to now fantasize into like what life will look like for you way down the line. So what would you do with your life if we sold Couplet to Nestle tomorrow or 5 years from now?
I would immediately build another company.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I already know. Like, I just want, especially, doing this and finding all of these different problems and untapped opportunities. Like, things are brewing very far in the back of my head right here. I'm like, ooh, that would be a good idea. Or people need this, or like, this is a niche of thing that should exist, or service that should exist for this stage of brand, this kind of brand. Yeah. So, yes.
All right.
We obviously, as you know, have been investing for like a couple of years now, both as an angel, advisor, investor through funds, scout, whatever. Never full time, but yeah, I would consider raising a small fund and doing some like really cool, maybe come up with like a venture studio of sorts. Like maybe
I was just gonna say, I'm listening to you and I'm like, you're describing basically like incubating ideas.
Yeah,
right?
I would really want to take a stab at that. I would like have a couple pilots and figure out if it makes sense for me. But I think it'd be really, really awesome to work with founders and either be a huge part of the business or a smaller part of the business, like connect them where I can connect them and use those connections. At that point, I'll obviously have plenty to get them from A to Z really at that point. So yeah, it's something
That's
where
awesome.
I have to be building.
I love that. No, I love that. And although you belie this with how you carry yourself and your presence, like a lot of people may forget, you're still young.
Yeah.
Like you're still really, really young. Like, so like you've got a lot of lifespan ahead of you.
God, I know.
So that's all right. So wait, now I have one extra curious question tied to that.
Yeah.
I got some of what you said there. Like, it makes total sense. Would it all only be ideas, innovations in CPG, or no? Are there totally different things that you're interested in?
Totally different things too. Totally different things.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like I've invested in a robotics company. I've invested in like a tax company. I've invested in a financial AI company and an oat company, Ghost Town Oats. Like
shout out to Michelle.
Yeah, we love Michelle. She's the best. But that's the thing. It's like, I do think that there is a lot of opportunity in other spaces too. But for the sake of like creating a real venture studio model, if I did do that,
Yeah.
be focused on CPG, you know.
Of course. No, of course. Of course. I mean, that's a foundation, but I love hearing this because I suspected what the answer was. Like, I love hearing this. Like, there are other things that get you curious and that you look at and you solve.
There's ideas I have in the freight and like LTL world. There's ideas I have in distribution.
I would imagine, right? Those are some big old pieces of the puzzle.
All these things. I'm like, oh my God, I can do this so much better. But I'm like, nope, focus on Couplet. You know what I mean?
No, but that's good. I love it. That's great. Because the alternative answer would have been like, I'm going to buy a yacht and just sit in the Mediterranean.
I don't care for that. It's fine.
That's not your thing.
I'll be in the Mediterranean on a yacht. I don't gotta buy it. You know
but that's vacation. Yeah, you go for vacation and then come back and do cool stuff. Right? Like
I want to work there too. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Billie Eilish has a great album or a big concert tour, and she goes back in the lab and just makes more music. That's the creative similarity, right?
That's how you know you love the game. Like you love to be a founder, you love to build. Like you're not really doing it. Some people go into it like doing it for like money, power, glory. Shout out Lana Del Rey. But
at
the end of the day, someone did ask me the other day. They were like, "Oh, if I just like plopped a couple like 10 to 20 mil cash for you untaxed in your bank account right now, would you still do Couplet?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd probably invest almost all of it into Couplet."
All of it into Couplet, exactly.
Yeah, like for sure.
100%.
It makes you realize, like, okay, yeah, you love what you do, and you really see the
100%. So. Good for you. That's awesome. Okay. All right. A practical question or two. So we talked a lot about like raising capital and specifically. So do me a favor. If you could give us like 2 or 3 key lessons or things people should kind of be conscious of when you've learned about securing capital in this space or just in general. But let's particularly talk about it for founders, first timers, or young founders that are coming from underrepresented communities.
Yeah.
Right. That they know they are not the mainstream white guy from Stanford or Berkeley. Talk to us 2 or 3 key lessons or things that they should prepare for to raise capital.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of thoughts on this. I'm actually dropping a new newsletter, and I think one of the like main series that I'm going to talk about is this. And I'll say like the first one for sure, to be honest with you, that I've always said as advice to people that I've worked with or consulted for or whatever. I mean, you have to create leverage. Like a lot of investors, including myself, like I'm guilty as charged, I do prefer sometimes that warm intro because I trust and, I trust my friends who have vet and like know connection that they're sending me. Like it is what it is, just kind of
it's human relationships.
Like you need to either create leverage by a network, like brute force yourself into a network and like, have some value to people that you want to learn from, right? Like whether that means like, hey, hit up, the CEO of X company that resembles kind of like what you envision for yourself as a CEO or like that category, whatever it is. I would go and find a way to get mentors, advisors before you get investors so that you can like really build that community of people who can give you those high powered intros to get money eventually.
Yeah.
Just create leverage. And then the second thing outside of creating leverage through your network would be creating leverage through like an online presence. I would say I raised almost my entire round on Twitter, and I'm probably going to do the same this time too. So, I just ended up amassing a decent following. Somehow people are engaging with me and what I say. Even sometimes it's silly, sometimes it's valuable. Sometimes it is what it is. I don't know. And I just feel like if you do create an online presence for yourself, whether it's a newsletter or a blog, create value for people or create community around you via the internet, it's so crazy powerful. And you know what? You can do that on LinkedIn too. I should probably...
No, exactly. It's not about the platform so much so. It's about the tool. Just use the tools.
I would go LinkedIn and Twitter, actually, in terms of, if I was to be specific, I'd go LinkedIn and Twitter. There's just so much untapped investor networks and stuff like that. Like it's a little bit harder to connect with someone off the bat at a networking event versus like creating a relationship online and understanding how the other things and DMing here and there before hopping on a 100%. Call. So the familiarity is cool. But and the third one I would say is really, really important. Like I would read venture deals. Like I would really understand what it means to take venture capital and understand if
Okay.
you want to do. I would consider WeFunder, Start Engine, Kickstarter. I would think about that first and foremost if you're about to launch something interesting.
That's
And
huge advice.
I would maybe I would think about going that route. I would first educate yourself on what it means to take venture dollars, because there's certain firms you'll take money from and they're going to boot you within like 18 to 24 months of their check getting in there if you're not performing at the scale in which they think makes sense for your business.
Right.
It is what it is. Business. It is business. It is what it is. But it is something to consider, especially in consumer goods. A lot of consumer goods investors do obviously understand the ebbs and flows and the highs and lows of all of those things. But you never know. You've really got to vet those people, and it's a long process. It's tough. And if you're not immediately plopped in, already connected, it's, start a different way. Create enough leverage to give yourself better terms.
Yeah. No, those are 3 absolutely massive pieces of terrific advice and insight, learned lessons, as you said, the hard way by yourself.
Yeah.
And can't wait for the newsletter to hit. We will help
I'm
promote
excited.
it and push it out there.
I have a lot of thoughts. Write them anywhere, and I used to write, and I'm missing it. So I'm excited to put
Good
that
for
out.
you. No, I mean, any way you can express the lived experiences and the creative thoughts and the ideation, however you can do it, man. Nowadays, as you said, the tools are here for us to utilize.
So
right?
many tools now. So many tools.
And it's so inherently good. Like in your case, it's good for you. It's good for us as the person. Just forget if anybody ever sees it. Like, it's just healthy, cathartic to get your thoughts out and to capture your thoughts and express yourself in a different way. But then, yes,
Agreed.
In today's world, like, the internet is basically just the world's biggest library.
Crazy. Yep.
Yeah,
agreed.
That's awesome. Hey, this was a long time in the making, but this is awesome. I love you. I think you're awesome. Thank you for spending some of it's Friday morning for those that will listen to this weeks from now. Right. But thanks for spending some of your Friday morning with me. We get to go back into our air conditioned rooms now and stop sweating. But I'm so proud of you. I love watching the journey. I'm grateful to call you a friend. I learn from you. I'm learning from you and being inspired by you. You're helping me be a better person, live more creatively, live more openly.
Right back at you. Seriously.
I'm always in your corner. Where can people follow, can we don't have the newsletter up maybe yet, but is there a website? Is there social sites that people should follow you on?
I would definitely follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is at GEFENSK, Gefen SK. And definitely check out Couplet's Instagram. It's at Couplet. So we bought the Couplet username, COUPLET. And if you want to get Couplet directly to your house, anything we have within a couple days of ordering, it's coupletcoffee.com. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you. This is the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did recording it. As always, we thank you so much for listening and watching. Today's show was recorded here in Los Angeles and produced by the incomparable Deanna Bernal in Mexico City. We can only grow this show by you listening and sharing the show with friends. So please find, follow, subscribe, and share our audio-only show on Spotify, Apple, or via any other popular podcasting platforms, as well as find the video version of our show now available on our YouTube channel over at Entrepreneurial Thinkers. And of course, you can follow along on our various social media platforms for fun and informative clips and content at Entrepreneurial Thinkers, wherever you can find us. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at I Am Rob Ryan on just about any social media platform. Gracias, thank you, and have an awesome day.